Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the Houthi rebels and where do Houthi rebels stand or where do they figure in the equation of the axis of resistance as Iran has portrayed against Israel. Now this topic we are discussing in the context of the recent airstrikes conducted by the Israel, where it also has bombed several places in the capital of Yemen, a country in the Middle East, and the capital is Sana'a. And this bombing has come at a time when the UN delegation, a high-level UN delegation led by WHO Director General, was present in that area. Also, Israel has began directly striking the Houthi, also referred as the Ansar Allah, that is the name of the movement they have given. So, the militant group operating in Yemen last week, which has basically expanded the Israel's ongoing campaign against the Iran, which Iran portrayed as axis of resistance. On the other hand, Israel called that axis as an axis of evil. So it is about the terminologies. Also in this context, the UN Secretary General has given a statement that he is gravely concerned about the intensification of escalation in the Yemen because it has resulted into high casualties, especially of civilians, as he has talked about. Now, what does Israel have to say in the entire matter? The Israeli government has clearly stated its intention, and it has said that the strike conducted on Sana'a is just a first and more is to follow. In this context, it also has said that now it has decided, after debilitating the Hamas and Hezbollah along its border, to focus on the last remaining Iranian proxy in Yemen. And the PM Benjamin Netanyahu have clearly stated that we are determined to cut off this terrorist arm of Iran's axis of evil, obviously referring to the Houthis, and we will persist until we get the job done. So it clearly indicates that more such incidents and strikes and bombings we can see in the near future as well. Now, if we try to look at the term axis of resistance, it is such kind of countries which are directly or indirectly supported by Iran and are waging a war against the Israel. These countries have been Iraq, that is having border with Iran, and then Syria, at least till the Bashar al-Assad government was in power. As we know, that has been toppled, his government and his regime has been toppled. So now Iran has lost one of its vital ally against its fight, toward its fight against the state of Israel. And the other Iranian, we can say, supporting group is operating in Yemen, a country that is situated on the other end of Saudi Arabia, between the vital maritime route of Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. Now, it was in the state of Yemen is where the Houthi movement began, that is also referred as Ansar Allah, as we have discussed, largely against the collaboration of the then president of Yemen, who the Houthis accused of collaborating with the US and Saudi Arabia. The Houthis basically belong to a Jaidi Shia sect, and as we know, Iran is also largely a Shia dominated country, and that is why they enjoy support with each other. So it was against the Ali Saleh, the Houthi rebel emerged, and also with the time they have become more and more powerful, especially after they began receiving arms, weapons and money from the Iran. So if we try to look at the background in which we can understand the Houthi rebellion and the Yemeni crisis. So because of the Houthi actions in the Red Sea area, where they have targeted a lot of oil ships that is passing through this juncture. If you talk about the Red Sea, from here you have the passage of the movement of cargo vessels. So a lot of cargo vessels were targeted, as we can see from the Houthi control areas, that is on the bordering region of the Red Sea here. So as a response of this, an operation that is called as Operation Prosperity Guardian was launched by the US and its allied forces. Later on, another operation by the name of Operation Poseidon Archer was launched. Operation Prosperity Guardian has focused upon ensuring the safety of the sea lanes of communication, while the Poseidon Archer has focused on striking and hitting the Houthis' controlled territory on the Yemeni land. So that is the difference between two operations. In this context, the impact of the Houthi attacks we can see from the data that we can see from the International Monetary Fund, where it says that if you take a look at the 7-day moving average for the transit calls in the Suez Canal, because if you go up further, you have the Suez Canal here that connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. So because of the possibility of Houthi based attack, the number of ships transiting through this canal have significantly dropped. That number was about 73 on the December 21st. So since then it has dropped to almost, we can say, 36 by February 2024, and further it has never crossed 50. And in the recent time when the strike has happened in the Yemeni territory, this number was about 26. So that is the shipping damage or the damage to the sea line of communication we can see here. If we try to look at the alliances that is operating here, so as we have discussed, in the Yemen, the Houthi rebels are enjoying the direct and indirect support of the Iran, or basically it is an Iran aligned group. Apart from that, many groups of the Yemen are supported by the Saudi Arabia and UAE in general, which are largely a Sunni-led country. And the alliances of Saudi Arabia and UAE are then supported by Gulf and other regional allies. Then you have US, UK and France, which have supplied weapons and logistical support to the Saudi Arabian military and the UAE military to carry out and conduct a strike against the Houthi stronghold in the Yemen. So basically in this area what we are seeing is a panning out or playing out of a game that largely is a reflection of a Shia-Sunni divide in the Islamic world, and that is where we can see you have the Hadi aligned forces, that is largely Yemen-backed forces, Yemeni government-backed forces, which is considered as legitimate government by the Saudi Arabia. And then you have the Houthis, as we have talked about. Then you have Southern Territorial Council, that is also supported by the UAE. So all these groups are continuously in fight against each other. So the question comes that if Houthis were largely involved in what we can call as a civil war in Yemen, what has caused them to turn their gaze toward Israel? And the answer can be traced back to the October 7 terrorist attack, a deadly attack that was carried out by the Hamas in the territory of Israel. As a retaliation, Israel then responded by bombarding the Gaza Strip on the western side. Due to the bombardment of Gaza Strip, many people have lost their life, obviously, and this catastrophe have caused Houthis to declare their casus belli as a stopping Israel and deterring America. So from winning a civil war, that was their primary goal, now they have changed their orientation toward attacking Israel and US by carrying out or by stopping them. So in this context, in the beginning, they began this by launching a cruise or ballistic missile strike. They have also used drone campaign against Israel, where a lot of Israeli ports, especially on the Red Sea side, were attacked. And then they began to attack the maritime domain, as we have talked about, where the sea line of communication were disturbed, a lot of cruise ships were attacked. Iranian military aid and supply has continuously been given to the Houthis that have further bolstered their strength and increased their motivation. And in this context, as we know that Iran is also backed by the Russia, which was also a backer of the Assad regime in Syria. So Russia have time to time provided intelligence to the Houthis, which has helped them keep their assets, keep their capabilities safer from the airstrikes conducted by Israel and its allied forces. So this is how the entire situation has evolved in the past year. Now the question comes that Houthis, why their power is rising or why they are becoming a significant forces that has to be tackled with. So first of all, as per the statement published by the Houthi leadership, it says that it has carried out a mass recruitment campaign where many people have joined its army, and the number stands somewhere between 150,000 to 200,000. That is a significantly high military capability in terms of the personals, if we try to understand. Second, because of the continuous strike that Houthis have been able to successfully deliver on the ships passing through the Red Sea and further Gulf of Aden. In the Red Sea, as you can see from the map here, Iran has a port that is called as the Eilat. Eilat is in the Gulf of Aqaba region, which is connected to the North Sea in the north. Now, because of the pressure, many of the ships have stopped using this Eilat port because the risk or the face the risk of attack by the Houthis. And it is due to this reason Eilat has to declare bankruptcy because it was not able to earn a sufficient amount of revenue to basically spend for its maintenance. In the month of September 2024, then the Yemen's internationally recognized government, which is operating in exile from the Aden, it also has agreed that despite continuous bombing and airstrikes conducted by the Western countries, it has not weakened the Houthis, and that is why the Houthis over a period of time has kept on increasing the area under occupation and has become a powerful force to reckon with. Also, Arab powers' desire have shifted. Earlier, they were largely focused on expelling or debilitating the Houthi rebels. Now, they have moved away from the conflict, especially the Saudi Arabia, and it is more focused on the economic diversification rather than this wasting its time or resources in fighting against the Houthi rebels. And in this context, we also have to understand that Saudi Arabia and Iran have reached a rapprochement largely backed by China. But despite this Tehran-Riyadh rapprochement of 2023, it has not stopped Iran from supplying the arms and ammunitions to the Ansar Allah group or Houthi group. And it has caused them to further soar up their military capabilities and capacities. So these are the factors that have caused Houthis to rise significantly in the power, and because of this rise, they have become confident enough to go and strike against the Israel. So, if we try to understand the axis of resistance, already we have talked about, it is the group that is largely supported by Iran, Iraq, Syria till Bashar al-Assad regime, and then the Yemen. So, the question comes that where do the Houthis figure or fit in this axis of resistance? Now, Houthis in the past, in the overall, we can say in the 2024 entire year, they have been able to increase and continue their presence as far as the Iranian overseas operations were concerned. And here we have seen significant weakening of Hezbollah and Hamas due to continuous strike and the killing of leadership that was conducted by the Israel during those times. And that is why Iran also have shifted its focus on the Houthis because they are relatively more safe. They still enjoy a large scale capabilities and capacities, and that is why the Iran then asked them to coordinate with the other group, that is the Houthi al-Shabi. Now, the Houthi al-Shabi group is operating in the Iraq region. So, recently what we have seen, the Houthis from Yemen, they have collaborated with the Houthi al-Shabi from Iraq, and they are trying to increase their presence in the Iraq. Why Iraq? Because earlier they thought by using the Syria border and the Syrian territory, they can then enter and basically carry out attack against the Israeli state. However, after the fall of Assad regime, that has become a kind of complicated. Now, recently, it also has opened an office in Baghdad, obviously as an extension of its policy to increase its presence in the Iraqi region, and the Houthi has begun to mount its own direct action and attacks against the Israel. So, maybe in the future, we can see a collaborative or joint effort by both Houthis and Houthi al-Shabi to launch a coordinated strike against the Israel. So, fall of Assad as request for crossing of Houthi in Syria was ignored because Assad also thought that the Houthi al-Shabi militants, if they are able to provide support to his regime in Syria because they have long-term or we can say long-lasting this experience of fighting in the theaters of war, but that request was ignored both by the Iraqi government as well as the Iranian government, and that has basically we can say has resulted into the fall of the Assad regime. So, Syria after that has severed Tehran's lines of communication with the Lebanon, because if we try to look at geography again here, how was Iran able to influence Hezbollah in the Lebanon? Through using the Iraq and Syria route. Now, Syria is gone, so Iran does not have any direct connectivity with the Lebanon where the Hezbollah is largely present. So, that is why they are trying to prop up the other groups, that is Houthis and Houthi. Now, Houthis in the axis of resistance can also be understood from the fact that in the December, they have shown a stronger instinct of self-preservation into the weakened Iranian axis, because as I told you, Assad is gone. Hezbollah and Hamas has been crippled by the continuous Iranian attacks and the killing of leadership. And the only resistance that Iran now has is in the presence or in the terms of the Houthis. So, Iranian government officials themselves, on the other hand, is signaling that their openness to engage with the West, and the future of Houthis, if it indeed happens, will seem very, very uncertain because they are the one that are currently spearheading the axis against Israel. So, will the Iran's policy toward Israel will change? Obviously, its policy is not going to change, but whether Iran will keep on supporting such kind of axis, that we have to wait and watch till at least the Donald Trump come into power in the United States. Now, Houthis have enabled that effort at least for now as far as the Iran's fight is concerned, even as they keep their own distance from the war at least for the now. So, this is how we can explain and understand the axis of resistance. Now, the question comes that what will happen in the future, or what might happen in the future. Now, again recently what we are seeing is the desire of the countries such as UAE, which support the Southern Transitional Council, and Southern Transitional Council, which is one of the players and the key players in the Yemen, it has shown its willingness to collaborate with Israel against the Houthis, because here again both of them are having the same objective, to expel the Houthis out of Yemen, or at least to capture the power back from them. So if UAE enters here, Saudi Arabia may also be influenced to enter the war, and due to the continuous strength and the attacks carried out by Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and then the further weakening of Iran because of the decline of Hezbollah, Hamas and Assad, can see Houthis facing an existential threat in the future, because obviously they have a threat from the factions in the civil war. And if Houthis lose their steam in the Yemen, obviously they will not be able to mount any significant attack or strike against the state of Israel. That is all about this particular video. Thank you very much.